All right, good morning, everyone. I just want to quickly go through a couple of the problems from yesterday, just so we kind of have a couple of examples that you all can kind of see how to solve out a lot of these trig problems. Now, please understand that a lot of this is just a review. Okay, we're going over a lot of the information. You're going to notice that a lot of it is some of the geometry concepts we talked about, or that you have talked about in the past, that I want to kind of cover and just talk about because it's important going into Unit 6. Um, Hopefully a lot of you are getting more and more comfortable with the online learning, the remote learning that we are doing. Okay. This is kind of the practice each day in which I have to send you some sort of video, whether it's me, whether it's Khan Academy, whether it's someone else, it doesn't matter. As long as it's an informative video to kind of help you proceed along these problems. On top of that, I will have an assignment kind of laid out each and every day for that. Okay. So as kind of are starting to get used to this, you kind of can see how the video will kind of help you outline it, but a lot of it's going to be on you to really try to work through and figure out a lot of this information. Now, on this first page here, I do kind of detail a lot of specifics that are going to be needed for you to actually solve out these problems. First off, you kind of see you have three different types of trig functions: sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, each of which have their own specific meaning behind it. For example, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay. The key thing to understand is that each of these relate back to this triangle. Okay. If I was going to be talking about specifically an angle, like for example, this one right here, let me change colors real quick. This one right here, and I wanted to find sine, I would look at the opposite side, and then I would look at the hypotenuse. And then I would take the opposite over the hypotenuse to solve out for sine. Okay, so a lot of this information here we can just relate back to solve it out. On top of the fact, a lot of these problems that we were talking about yesterday really are pretty straightforward once you start getting an example of them. Okay. For example, when it comes to a lot of your geometry lessons where you had to use the inverse of sine or sine to the -1 to help find like angles and such like that, a lot of that we really don't have to do. We're going to kind of simplify a lot of this. And a lot of these problems are kind of just understanding these three concepts here and using them to really solve out a lot of these problems. So let's go ahead and get started.